Hello, my name is Sarah and welcome to our Cats Protection Careers Week special. It's lovely to see so many of you from across the UK and thank you for joining us today.
Hello, good morning. My name's Alison, and we are part of Cats Protection's education team who deliver fun and engaging educational talks to schools, colleges, and community groups. Cats Protection is the UK's largest cat welfare charity. Every year, we help thousands of cats and kittens through our cat centres and dedicated volunteers. We all work towards making a better life for cats.
Today's session is all about supporting you. We'll share valuable tools and insights to help you feel confident in your job applications with plenty of practical tips and activities along the way. Later, we'll be speaking to members of our talent acquisition team, Cats Protection's recruitment specialists, and they're responsible for finding the right people to help the charity achieve our vision. Cats Protection have around 1,000 employees and over 10,000 volunteers working across the UK in a wide variety of roles. And when applying for a job, it's really important to understand the role you're applying for and the key skills that employers will be looking for. So to get you thinking about this, we're going to start with a game called Careers Guess Who. So here are some key skills required for a mystery job role at Cats Protection. Experience of managing a team, understanding of working to sales targets and budgets, excellent organisational skills, including the ability to meet deadlines, and strong commercial awareness. And now here are some titles of different Cats Protection job roles, but which one matches the description on the screen? So, is the mystery job role A, a cat centre manager, B, volunteer team leader, C, shop manager, or D, community fundraising officer?
The correct answer is actually C, shop manager. So we have around about 80 high street shops all across the UK selling a range of donated products to raise money. This means that we can keep helping cats and also raise public awareness.
Thanks, Alison, and well done, everyone, and thanks for taking part. So on to our next role. Okay, so for this job, you would need the following: a full driving licence, customer service skills and experience of dealing with the public, experience of animal welfare and husbandry, to be resilient with the ability to cope with emotional situations, and to be an excellent team player with a positive attitude. Is it A, regional feline behaviourist, B, rehoming and welfare assistant, C, digital content officer, or D, fundraising events manager?
Well done. The answer is B, rehoming and welfare assistant. So they work in our cat centres, providing essential day-to-day care for our cats, as well as finding them new homes by guiding potential adopters through the adoption process. Well done, everyone.
Let's take a look at our next mystery job role. For this job, you would need to have administration or customer service experience, be a confident communicator with excellent organisational skills, be a strong, flexible team player, have the ability to work on your own initiative and under pressure, and experience of using Microsoft Office, including Outlook, Excel, and Word. Okay, is it A, a creative designer, B, a community education officer, C, warehouse supervisor, or D, receptionist?
So I can reveal that the correct answer is D, receptionist. So well done. Thank you for popping them in there. Our receptionists work in our cat centres, and they're often the first friendly face or voice visitors will see or hear. They handle customer inquiries and support the centre team in lots of different ways. Good job, everyone.
Let's take a look at our next role. For this job, you would need to have a full driving licence, shelter medicine experience, the ability to work under pressure and to be able to manage conflict, significant experience working in a small animal practice, and currently registered with the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. Is our mystery job role A, a regional feline behaviourist, B, a field veterinary officer, C, a learning and development specialist, or D, a senior rehoming and welfare assistant?
Well done, everyone. Well, I can reveal that the correct answer to this one is B, field veterinary officer. So instead of working in one place, our field vets travel across a region of the UK to provide veterinary advice and support to our cat centres and volunteers. We hope you enjoyed the quiz and learned lots about some of the different roles within Cats Protection. Now, moving on, let's find out more about developing transferable skills for employability. Tilly Mills, social media influencer, has some tips she would like to share with you. We're really excited to see this today, so let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Tilly Mills, and today I'm here at Cats Protection. I'm going to teach you some transferable skills that you might already have for a career in animal welfare. A lot of people would love to work with animals, and even if you've never had a job, you're developing useful skills every day that could help you. Talking with friends, helping with school projects, or even making videos like this. It's all communication.
At Cats Protection, good communication is really important. Whether it's talking to adopters, giving information about a cat's needs, or working with a team, clear communication helps things run smoothly.
Playing sports, working on school projects, or even online gaming can help you with teamwork.
In a cat centre, teamwork is essential. Vets, rehoming and welfare assistants, and our managers all work together to make sure cats are happy, healthy, and find the right homes.
Balancing school, hobbies, and a social life, that's time management.
Looking after animals means feeding them on time, keeping their pens clean, and making sure they get vet checkups. Being organised helps make sure everything gets done properly.
Figuring out a tricky homework question, fixing an issue on your PC, or even making a decision in a game. That's problem solving.
There are always challenges to solve in a cat centre. It could be finding out why a cat isn't eating, working out how to help a nervous cat feel safe, or dealing with unexpected situations.
Thinking of new video ideas, art or writing projects, or even coming up with new TikToks. This shows creativity.
In animal welfare, creativity helps make cat pens fun and enriching, while adaptability is important because animals don't always do what you expect.
So even if you haven't had a job yet, you already have plenty of skills that could help you work with animals or in any career. Think about what skills you use every day and how they could help you in a future job. You might be more prepared than you think. Thanks for watching, and good luck with whatever you decide to do in the future.
Oh, well, thanks so much to Tilly for being part of our event today. We hope you all enjoyed that, and we really got you thinking about all the amazing transferable skills you have to offer. Now, imagine that you're applying for your dream job. How do you convince someone to give you a chance? Every employer is different, and you may be asked to complete an application form, provide a CV, a personal statement, or a combination of them. So, what is the difference?
A job application is a form you fill out when applying for a job. It asks for your contact details, so things like your address, your phone number. It asks for details of your work experience, your education, and sometimes it will ask extra questions about your skills and your experience. An application form lets employers compare everyone fairly by asking the same questions.
Now, a CV is like a fact file about you, about yourself. It's a list of all the important and cool things that you've done, like education, jobs, and skills. It's short, easy to read, and it helps employers quickly see what you're good at.
Whereas a personal statement is more like a mini story. It's all about why you're perfect for the job. Instead of just listing things, explain in full sentences why you'd be great at that specific job. It's a great opportunity for you to sell yourself. And use examples of things that you've done that link to the job description for the role you're applying for. It's your chance to convince employers to select you for that interview. Let's put your knowledge to the test for this next quiz round. I'll ask you a series of quick yes or no questions about the do's and don'ts of applying for a job. We're also joined by Jenny from our talent acquisition team, who is on hand to give us the correct answers. Okay, so here's the first question. Should you exaggerate your skills to make yourself look better? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that the answer is no. But Jenny, what is the correct answer? Are they correct by saying no?
They certainly are. Your skills will be explored during the interview. So if you've exaggerated them during the application or on your CV, it will become clear to the employer, which could be embarrassing. And it could mean that you fail your probation or even lose your job.
Thanks, Jenny. On to our next question. So, on your CV, should you include any volunteering that you've done? Yes or no?
Jenny, what is the official answer for this one, please? Could you share with us?
So the official answer is yes. Volunteering is awesome. It's a great way to build skills and experience, and it highlights the causes you're passionate about.
Thanks, Jenny. Wonderful. Okay, right. Should you use AI, artificial intelligence, to write up your application? Yes or no?
Should you be using AI on your application?
No, using AI to write your entire application isn't a good idea, and it's likely to be detected. It will look like you haven't put much effort in, and it could ruin your chances of getting the job. But as Helena said, using AI to check your spelling or grammar in your application form is absolutely fine.
Great. Thanks, Jen. Some good tips there. Okay, we're on to our next question. A referee is someone who will vouch for your ability to do the role by providing a reference. Now, should you ask your referee permission before adding their name and their contact details to your application form? Yes or no?
Jenny, should you ask your referee for permission?
Yeah, it's just good manners, really. So always ask the referee before giving their name out. People don't like surprises. If you haven't had a job before, then your teachers or your tutors can offer information about your character, abilities, and skills.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Okay, next question. Should you include your social media profiles on your job application? An interesting one. Yes or no?
So Jenny, should we be adding our social media profiles on job applications?
No, you shouldn't include your social media profiles on an application unless the job is specifically related to social media marketing. Employers may make use of your social media to assess your professionalism and your suitability for the role, and that could lead to discrimination.
Some really useful advice there. Thank you. Okay. Should you include your salary or your pay expectations when applying for a job? Yes or no?
So, Jenny, should you include your salary or pay expectations?
No. At Cats Protection, we advertise the pay along with the job advert. So in most cases, there's no need to include this in your application or at interview.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Again, some really helpful advice there. Okay, next question, everyone. Should you include any breaks between jobs or gaps in employment? Yes or no?
So, Jenny, should you include any breaks between jobs or gaps in employment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a good idea to explain any gaps in employment. It could include leaving a job, taking a gap year to travel, or being in education.
Great. Thanks, Jen. Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. Should there be a limit on the length of your CV? Yes or no?
Okay, so Jenny, should there be a limit on the length of your CV? What's the official answer for this one, please?
So there's no set limit on how long a CV should be. However, it is best to keep it as concise as possible. Keep it engaging and relevant for the role you're applying for.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Now, our last question, an interesting one for everyone. Should you include a picture of your pets with your application form? Yes or no?
So, officially, Jenny, should you include a picture of your pets with your application form?
No, whilst pet pictures are always cute, they're not necessary as part of your application. They don't show why you would be the best person for the role.
Okay, so thanks, Jenny, for sharing those really valuable tips. I hope that helped everybody. Remember, a strong application should be clear, it needs to be concise and relevant to that job, the one that you're actually applying for. And if you're not sure about something, check with the employer for guidance. They'll be happy to help. Next, let's hear from some people you might recognise. Max and Harvey visited our UK Cat Centre to find out more about the kind of skills you can gain from work experience and volunteering. So let's find out more.
Hey everyone, Max and Harvey here, and we are here at Cats Protection to talk about getting career ready and skills that will help you in the future.
And one of the best ways to get experience is by volunteering, possibly with a charity, because they are always looking for people to help.
We've been so lucky to work with Cats Protection over the past few years, and it's amazing how much you can learn from just giving your time to such a good cause.
Yeah, you can help out at an animal centre, or you could start a fundraising challenge, or even just posting social media content for a charity is so valuable, and it looks great on your CV as well.
A weekend job or work experience can help you practice timekeeping, responsibility, and just working with customers, all things that employers look for.
And it massively helps with teamwork, communication, and problem solving, which is all going to be happening while you're doing your job. And it's great for managing your own time as well, and dealing with unexpected problems that you can quickly solve.
Our work experience was crazy. We actually did ours at Man United when we were younger, and it was amazing. We got to work in so many different environments and events, and with so many amazing people that just taught us all the skills we have now.
And it also taught us a massive amount about how to work with kids, because we were doing a lot of sport-related activities, and boy, will they say some interesting things.
Also, yeah.
But you know, you learn how to deal with that, how to best move them on if they do say something strange.
Cats just meow.
They're problematic to work with cats.
Yeah.
Think about what you enjoy, what you're good at, and how it can help you build skills for a future career.
And a big thank you to Cats Protection and, more importantly, Misty over here for having us, and we hope that this is able to get you career ready.
Big up, Misty.
Thank you to Max and Harvey for being part of our event today. It was really interesting to hear about the skills they gained and the challenges they faced during work experience. On to our next top tips section. Filling out forms and being interviewed, it can feel overwhelming and nerve-wracking, but Alicia and Sam are here to help. They're members of our talent acquisition team, our recruitment specialists, and they're going to share their top tips on preparing for an interview and making your application form stand out. Okay, let's make a start. Sam, first question is, what would you say makes a strong application form stand out?
So employers get a lot of applications, so yours needs to stand out for the right reasons. First, read the job description properly, not just a quick skim, and you need to understand what the role involves and how your skills match up. We often see people writing about how much they love cats, which is great, but we also want to know why this job, why this organisation. Show that you've done your research. Tailor your application for each role. Copy pasting from a previous application might be tempting, but employers can tell. Instead, check out the organisation's values and mission. It gives you an idea of what they care about and how you can align with that. Remember, if the application has a word limit, aim to meet that word limit. Giving too little information means other candidates will stand out more, and writing too much will look like you haven't followed the instructions. If possible, try and apply as soon as possible, but don't rush. Some roles with high interest might close early. Our standard advert is 2 weeks, but some organisations might only have an advert open for a week or less. And finally, be confident. Use positive language and celebrate your achievements. If you've achieved something great, say how proud you were of it, and don't hesitate to express your pride in what you've accomplished.
Oh, thanks so much for that, Sam. That all makes so much sense. Now, Alicia, I'd like to hand over to you, please, and just ask, what are some of the common mistakes that you see on application forms, and how can people avoid them?
So I think one of the biggest mistakes we see are spelling and grammar errors. So my advice would be to proofread everything, check all of your spelling and grammar before you submit your application, just to make sure there are no mistakes and your writing flows well. Also, we sometimes see incorrect contact details on an application. So double check your contact details are correct, as you don't want to miss out on an interview invite because you typed your email in wrong. Also, if you are asked to upload a CV, make sure it's the correct document. We've seen things before that are not CVs, and you would be surprised on the sort of things we've seen. Also, copy and pasting. Don't copy and paste from a previous job application. We can tell when someone has copied and pasted or hasn't tailored their answers to the role that they're applying for. Don't rush your application. Make sure you complete all questions fully and don't be tempted to submit a half-finished application, as you might undersell yourself. And also relying heavily on AI. AI is becoming more common. However, when somebody copies and pastes paragraphs from ChatGPT, we do know.
Thank you, Alicia. And I'm really intrigued about some of the things that you've received instead of a CV. I might have to ask you about that a little bit later. Okay, we've got a question for you now, Sam. So how can someone with limited work experience make their application stronger?
Yeah, great question. So remember that you have skills from various experiences like volunteering, school activities, or personal projects. And if you have held leadership roles or accomplished significant tasks, highlight these experiences to show your ability to make an impact. Highlight your soft skills, so such as teamwork and problem solving, and use specific examples in your application or during interviews as well. Relevant coursework or school projects shows your academic and practical knowledge. So if you've created and delivered a presentation for a school project, this shows your communication skills. You can include any certifications, awards, or training that you've completed, such as first aid course or the Duke of Edinburgh Award. And also don't overlook other valuable skills such as proficiency in IT or fluency in another language, or even holding a driving license, because these can all make you a stronger candidate.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Sam. So that's loads of brilliant advice relating to applications. That'll be so helpful. But now I guess moving on, we're thinking of the next part of it. So Alicia, I'd like to ask you, please, what would be the best way to prepare for an interview?
So I think the most important thing is not leaving your prep until the last minute. So don't leave it till the night before the interview. Set aside some time in advance to get ready so you can go into the interview feeling confident. Also, check any emails or invitations that you've been sent. Sometimes there are details about the format of the interview, a task to prepare in advance, or even the interview questions. Next, have another look at the job description. Most interview questions are based on it. So if they've mentioned needing strong organisational skills, expect to be asked for an example of when you've been super organised. Also, practicing your answers in advance can help with confidence. Why not try running through your answers to common interview questions with a friend or family member? However, try and keep it natural and not too robotic. And lastly, but possibly most importantly, check out the organisation's website, learn a bit about their history and make a note of any key facts. If they ask, what do you know about us? You'll be ready with a solid and impressive answer.
Thank you, Alicia. Again, some really brilliant practical tips there. Okay, Sam, we've got another question for you. So what are your top tips for making an impression, or I should say, making a great impression at interview?
Yeah, so make sure you know where the interview is happening first and foremost, how you'll get there, and leave plenty of time so you're not rushing. If it's online, check your tech beforehand, make sure you've got a quiet, well-lit space. Whether it's virtual or in person, turning up 10 minutes early shows the employer you're organised and just gives you time to prepare. Dress the part. So even if it's a virtual interview, looking smart can help you feel more confident and it gives a great first impression. Using the STAR method when answering questions that ask for examples can be helpful. So use a situation that you faced, the task that you needed to complete, the action that you took, and the positive result that you achieved. It helps paint a clear picture of your experience. If asked why you left a previous job, keep it positive and don't be tempted to badmouth the past employer. Instead, focus on what you've learned and what you're looking for next. Ask questions about the role, the team, or the company culture. This shows you're genuinely interested. After all, interviews are a two-way street. They're also a chance for you to find out if you want the job as well. And take a deep breath. So interviews can be really nerve-wracking, but don't rush your answers. And remember, it's totally okay to ask them to repeat a question if you need a second to think. And finally, be yourself. Employers aren't just looking for skills, they're looking for someone who will be a good fit within the team.
Some really useful advice. Thank you, Alicia, and thank you to Sam. That was brilliant. Some top tips were shared with you today. So hopefully this has given you some insight into what employers are looking for during the application process and how to prepare for an interview. Now, we're going to hear from Jordan, and Jordan is going to tell us more about Cats Protection's bias-free recruitment. Let's take a look.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan and I work in the Cats Protection talent acquisition team. Cats Protection is committed to making its recruitment process fair and inclusive for everyone. Our bias-free recruitment approach involves using redacted CVs and application forms, meaning personal details such as names, addresses, and education backgrounds are removed. This helps to reduce unconscious bias and ensures everyone is assessed based on their skills and experience rather than personal characteristics. Cats Protection is really proud to be a disability-confident employer. This means we adhere to a number of commitments, including making sure everyone has a fair chance of getting a job with us, making sure the recruitment process is inclusive and accessible, sharing our job adverts with diverse job boards and ensuring our disability confident badge is visible. We'll also offer guaranteed interviews to disabled candidates who meet the main essential job criteria. During the recruitment process, we'll provide adjustments to those with disabilities, for example, the location the interview takes place in. We'll also support our current employees with a disability or long-term health condition to stay in work. We also recognise that some of our candidates may be neurodivergent, which is why we have adapted our recruitment process to support them. This includes creating job descriptions and adverts that only contain information that is relevant to the role and ensuring this information is clearly laid out. We'll also share interview questions ahead of time. This allows candidates to prepare their answers in advance and ensures they are fully prepared for interview. We'll also make other adjustments to the process, for example, typing the interview questions into the Teams chat. And of course, we'll work really closely with our hiring managers to ensure they can support candidates throughout the recruitment process. Some of our Cats Protection colleagues want to share their thoughts and experience of working for the charity. Let's take a look.
It's important to recognise that asking for adjustments to support your learning style is completely okay. Seeking clarity, requesting additional support, or adapting training methods to suit your needs can make a significant difference. Everyone learns differently. Some may prefer hands-on experience, whilst others benefit from structured guidance or visual resources. Embracing learning in the workplace not only helps you develop new skills, but also fosters a more inclusive and supportive environment for everyone.
I've known I have dyslexia since I was 6, but it wasn't until recently that I realised I could have asked for reasonable adjustments in job interviews. And if I had known, I would have asked for questions in advance so that I could take some time to reflect and structure my answers. Having them in writing too would have also helped, as sometimes I forget verbal instructions and I can go off on topics. I find it really useful during conversations to be able to make notes, so being able to jot things down in an interview would have helped me to remember key points, and I could have asked better questions about the job role. These small adjustments would have made me feel much more confident and comfortable in the process. Now, moving forward, I know I can ask for what I need to perform at my best, and I hope this encourages you to think about what could help you too. Advocating for yourself isn't always easy, but it can make a big difference in your confidence and your success.
Thank you to Jordan and everyone that took part in the video for today's event. Remember, you can always ask for adjustments in your applications, in interviews, and even on the job itself. It's about making sure everyone has the support that they need to thrive. Now, it's time for our Q&A session, and our panel of experts are here to answer as many questions as they can.
I wonder if you could share with everybody, how long do interviews usually take? A typical interview, how long would you give that?
So a typical interview at Cats Protection, we would allow up to an hour for. So that's enough time for introductions. It's enough time for the interviewers to ask their questions and for you to ask your questions as well. Sometimes they can finish a little early, and that's okay if that happens, but usually it's about an hour.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for that. What would you say is more important? Would it be experience or qualifications?
So that's a really good question, actually, and it's very much role dependent. So, for example, it's really important that a vet would have the right qualifications, but for other roles, great experience can definitely trump having a specific qualification.
Thanks so much, Felicia. That makes a lot of sense. Another one. I'm at secondary high school. What should I do next if I want to work with animals?
Yeah, good question. There are lots of different types of roles with animals. So do your research and pinpoint what type of career you want to go into and which route you're interested in. So it could be a vet, or you could be a cat or dog behaviorist, or zoology. That's a different route. And then once you've done that and decided on what's your particular area of interest, you can then research the type of skills and qualifications that may be needed for that job. Also, if you can get some volunteering under your belt as well, that would be great, because that will really help not only build your skills, but it'll help you decide if that is a particular area that you enjoy.
That makes a lot of sense, Sam. Definitely. Thank you very much. What would be some typical interview questions at Cats Protection?
So we always ask about your career or your work history, or your education and where you've got your skills and experiences from. We always ask what you know about Cats Protection, so that it's so important for you to do your research around Cats Protection, who we are, what we do. You may be surprised we're so much more than just helping cats find new homes, that there's lots more to us. So definitely do your research. So why do you want to work for us? We're really interested in what it is about working for us that's important to you. We ask questions that reflect on the skills needed in the role. So we could ask a question around your organisational skills, or a time where you've had to juggle lots of priorities and meet deadlines. But we also ask questions around our values and behaviours, because they are really important to us. So we want to make sure that your values and the way that you behave in the workplace is similar to how we are and what we're looking for. So that could be about how you might handle being courageous if we need you to step out of your comfort zone and things. So we could ask a question about you've been brave on occasion.
Yeah, that's it. That was a brilliant detailed answer. Made so much sense. Thank you so much, Jenny. Do volunteer positions require interviews as well? And if so, are there common traits that you look for?
So we look after recruitment interviews, so employee roles. So we may have just answered that with some of the values and the behaviours questions. So I think the volunteers, I think there's more chats that happen and conversations that happen rather than full-on interviews. But we'd still be looking to understand what it is about us. Why do you want to volunteer for us? What is it about the role that you're interested in helping with and things? And what do you want to gain from it, as well as what are we looking for?
Thank you, Jenny. Thanks so much. Another one, should a CV look a certain way? And can I use a template that I found online?
So with CVs, there's no one particular way your CV should look, as long as it's clearly written with sort of short sentences or bullet points for your skills and experiences. There's some really great templates online that you can use. We do advise, against things like putting your picture on your CV as well, just to make sure there's no sort of unconscious bias coming in when employers are looking at it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you very much. Oh, there's an interesting question come through here, flipping things around a little bit. So, what sort of questions are good for you to ask employers when you get the opportunity to at an interview?
Yeah, that's a good question. Always great to ask employers questions. So I suppose first and foremost is ask questions that's going to give you information about the role and what you're looking for, because that's kind of what you want to find out. But also, it's always good to ask about what the team culture is like. So how they get on together, what they like to do together, whether they do any team building activities, and that will give you a really good idea of what the organisation is like to work and their culture. And also maybe questions around development. If that's something you're interested in and you want to do further learning or progress, it's always good to understand what opportunities and support they can provide there.
Thank you, Sam. Brilliant. Yeah, they're definitely questions that I maybe hadn't considered before. So thank you very much for sharing those. Um, Amber sent a great question through. So if there are gaps between jobs, how do we prevent them from looking bad on our CV? What would be the best way to pop those down?
So be honest about what you've been doing, because whether it's been a gap of a month or a year, you will have been doing things during that time to where you're developing new skills, whether it's things like being on social media a lot, that is developing technological skills, creative skills, your communication skills. So everything that you may have been doing during that time will have developed you in some way. So definitely be honest about it. If it's because you've been poorly, then say that you've been poorly. That's completely understandable. You might have been helping care for a family member. Again, completely understandable. So pop that down. So I think it's when there is a gap and there's no explanation for it is when, as an employer, you might go, oh, well, what's happened there then? So I think always put something down. It doesn't have to be lots of detail, but putting something is always going to look better than putting nothing.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny. And that was a super question. Thanks, Amber. Oh, here's another one. So, what type of dress code would you advise for interview? What sort of things should you wear?
So it's sort of role dependent. So if you're going for like a very much office-based role, I would wear sort of more smarter sort of outfit. If you're going for an interview at one of the CAT centres, keep it sort of smart casual. So don't turn up in sort of jogging bottoms, or jeans possibly are okay, but I would keep it sort of smart casual in that kind of environment, but it's very much role dependent.
Yeah, definitely. That does make a lot of sense. Excellent. What can I do to support my well-being before an interview?
Yeah, so interviews are obviously very nerve-wracking. It's completely normal to feel nervous and a bit worried. So make sure that you are prepared, because that's really going to help with how you're feeling. The more prepared you are, the readier you will be. So also arrive early. I think I said earlier, whether that's location if you're going in person, or logging in early and checking your technology is working. Again, it's just making sure you're prepared. Take lots of deep breaths and just try not to worry. You know your skills and experience, and the employer just wants to hear about what you can offer them and bring to the role. And I always say to candidates that no one knows you better than you do. So what you're doing in an interview is talking about yourself. And I know it can feel unnatural sometimes, but you are the subject expert in all things you.
That's very true. Absolutely. That's a great way to think of it, Sam. Thanks for that. There's a couple more here in the chat. Alice is saying, I'm curious, what has been uploaded instead of CVs to your team? Like when you mentioned earlier, Alicia, that maybe somebody's meant to attach their CV, but they've attached other things instead. What sort of things have ended up in your inbox, Alicia?
Personally, I mean, I don't know what Jen and Sam have come across in the past. I've come across personal hospital letters, utility bills, and I had a digital drawing. I think it was an anime drawing once somebody had sent through instead. So yeah, just be extra careful when you're uploading a CV to make sure it's the correct document.
Yeah, I mean, imagine putting all that effort and work into a CV and then not sending the right thing. What a shame. Oh, so interested. Thanks for sharing that, Alicia. And one more in here. Can you tell us more about the STAR method that you mentioned previously, please?
Yeah, so the STAR method is a great tool when you are applying for a job, answering application questions, answering interview questions. It is a method of preparing your answers in advance. So with us, we share a lot of our questions in advance now, so you are able to prepare to the exact question you will be asked. Other organisations may share the topics, they may share the competencies that they're going to be asking around, which could be about organisational skills, team working skills, communication skills. So whilst you won't know the exact question, if you prepare an answer using the STAR method, that covers when you have experienced communication skills or evidenced your organizational skills, usually you can then use what you've prepared to amend it to the specific question. So STAR stands for situation. So that's where you were going to give an example of when you had to do something. So the situation was that I was asked to write a paper. The T stands for task. So again, the task is the writing of the paper. So the task would be the paper that I needed to write was about what I did at the weekend. The action is then you doing it. So the action would be, so I researched what I'd done, I sat down and made some notes, I then prepared my answers properly, I used a form of AI to check my spelling and my grammar. So what did you actually do? And then the R stands for result. So the result of this was that I presented my paper on time to my manager, who was very happy. So it just gives you a little bit of a framework to be able to prepare your answers around, and it helps the interviewer be able to identify your answers much quicker, because they can easily see that was your situation, that was your task, that was your action, that's what you did. And it helps them be able to go, yes, you've ticked the box, and that's great.
Yeah. And I think as well, like if I was thinking about something like that, that would help me break that down into chunks in my brain so the task doesn't feel as overwhelming as well. So that would be a really handy method to use. Thank you. We've got another wee one in the chat. Can I ask an employer for feedback after an interview?
So yes, feedback is really important. And actually, you shouldn't need to ask for feedback, because at Cats Protection, we always provide feedback following interviews. We'll tell you about where your strengths were, where you could improve. But feedback's really important to make sure that going into future interviews, you can go in using that feedback and be your best self.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think that's really good to know, isn't it? So that, no matter the outcome of your interview, it's still always learning, isn't it? And about yourself and your strengths and how you came across. Brilliant. Thank you. Here we go. We've got another one. Sometimes at interview, employers will ask you to prepare a task. What sort of tasks do Cats Protection ask people to do?
Yeah, good question. It can vary. It depends on the role and what the manager's particularly looking for that specific role. So one example that I could give is for our Lifeline roles within our Lifeline service. So for a Lifeline caseworker, they would sometimes do a task where they give you a scenario of a foster carer raising a concern, for example, about perhaps a cat in their care. And you would write out what your response would be. And that was the particular task for this role. And it helped the managers understand how you would approach a situation that would possibly come up in this role and see those skills and experiences. So that could be quite a common one. You could also see perhaps role play tasks, but that would be more live within an interview. You'd always be given information prior to what to expect of the task and how to prepare.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sam. All right. Well, unless there are any little last minute ones that come through, I think we've exhausted all our questions, but we're just in good time because we're almost out of time. That has just flown. I don't know about all of you, but I have had a great time finding out all about careers and all about recruitment this morning and how to go about our interviews and applications. So thank you so much for that. So Sarah.
Yes, thanks, Alison. Yeah, thanks everyone for your fantastic questions as well. And a big thank you to Jen, Alicia and Sam for joining us from Talent Acquisition. And a big thank you to everyone that's taken part in our event today. If you want to learn more about Cats Protection's education team, we run various live sessions throughout the year, so please do visit our Eventbrite page to sign up and follow us. You'll be the first to hear about our new events, and we've shared a link to our page in the chat for you. And for animal management tutors, we offer a series of animal welfare sessions designed around your curriculum. To find out more about this, as well as careers or volunteering with Cats Protection, we're going to share a document with some useful links in the chat. That brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you everyone for joining us. Good luck with your future careers, and we hope to see you again soon. It's goodbye from all of us. Goodbye.